Whitmer and Duggan are pivoting away from the liberal status quo, which is against Trump, and they're actually humbling themselves and going to the Trump government to get funding from their cities, whether or not they're they really care about helping their cities or their state. It's a politically savvy move because it gets them funding and because it makes it look at least like they address the problems of their constituency. Okay. And if they don't do it, they won't get voted in. What do you have to say?
Okay, I can work with that. I understand what you're saying there. And yes, they are trying to...
And that's what I said before. That's what I said before. Stick to that, please.
Okay, I will stick to that. Yes, it's a move to... It's what you call laundering. You're trying to launder your image in order to appear palatable because they are trying to be competitive in the face of Trump. But what they have to look at is that at the end of this, the secondaries are coming next year, and the next election cycle, we're looking at, for me, the way I look at it, because I'm not an American, I'm an outsider looking in. And the way I look at it is there is no presentable option from both the Republican side and the Democrats in terms of who they're going to follow when it comes to the next two election cycles. That's the midterms and the next election cycle. And it does appear that the Democrat Party at this point, based on what they're trying to do, is they're trying to recover what they lost so much of under the Biden administration that caused so many people to turn over to Trump and move away from the Democrat position. That's how I see that level at that point.
Yes, and this is the point I'm making. So Michigan lost to Trump in the Democratic elections. Michigan has usually been a swing state, but is beginning to move towards the Republican Party because the Democratic Party was not focused on listening to what people wanted to hear. They're supporting a Ukraine war. They started the war in they started the genocide in Gaza. They focused on identity politics rather than on the fact that in places like Michigan and in the swing states, people are losing jobs, agriculture is going down, production is going down. Now, I'm not saying that Trump has a solution to that, but at least even when he's campaigning and everything, he's listening to what people are saying. So it seems like with these two Democrat leaders, Duggan and Whitmer, at least they have, it makes them look bad in front of their other fellow Democrats, people from Chicago, people from New York, people from California. It makes them look bad because they're actually going to the federal government. They're going to Trump not because he's a Republican. They're going there because he can make things happen in the federal government, which allows funding for their state. And if you look at the numbers in Detroit, out of all the black cities in America, Detroit's crime problem is now getting a little bit under control. And that's because of the federal money that is being pumped in. The other people like Scott, who's the mayor, Brandon Scott, who's the mayor of Baltimore, he's even getting a little bit smart. He's like saying, Trump, we need federal funding. But in places like Chicago, Illinois, California, they don't want to ask for federal funding because it makes their opponent, which is the Republican Party, look bad. But when you're looking at Whitmer and Duggan, they're actually going. But the reason they're doing that is because they live in states where it's close enough that the Republicans can win anyway, which to the point where Duggan's one of the first white, he's one of the first white mayors of Detroit, has actually said he's running for governor and he's not even going to be a Democrat. He's going to be an independent. So what we're seeing, like what you said, is that the Democratic Party needs to shape up if they don't want to start losing candidates. And their governor candidate, Gretchen Whitmer, who's supposed to be a big enemy of MAGA, is actually also making friends with him. So they're beginning to lose some of their star politicians because they're so focused on this ultra liberal, anti-Trump, anti-MAGA thing, rather than figuring out what's going on in Palestine, which is also a problem for Trump to figure out ending the Ukraine war, which Trump wants to end and they don't want to end, and to stop spending so much money on NATO. Trump is also against that. Also, like you said, AIPAC. So the writing's on the wall. You look at what's her name on the other side with MAGA. What's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Same thing. She's distancing herself from Trump also because of the Israel thing. So my point being is that this is an indicator that if you're a politician in America now, nobody's going to care about ideology anymore. It's about common sense, ending the genocide, finding a way to make the cities and the economies back. Now, I don't believe these things can be made better unless we have socialism, but at least these guys, whether they're doing it just to survive politically or because if it's a show, at least it's rational. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's a race to get the country back. Both the Republicans and Democrats, they're trying to set up new institutions that give that vibe to the people, because they have to give back confidence to the people that when they vote for these people have their best interests at heart. However, genuinely or disingenuinely that's done, that's going to be left to America and the way that they run their politics. In respect of the Democrats, they've lost a lot of trust because they're the worst. They're the worst culprits because the Republicans have always appeared to be like, yeah, I did it, and the Democrats have always tried to appear like, no, it's wrong, and now it appears like they're both working in cahoots, and it's confusing to the electorate. And for that
Yeah,
reason,
look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's not in cahoots. She's
I'm
not in cahoots.
confused at what's going to now come out of America. I'm actually curious. Yes, yes, she's not in cahoots. That's what I'm saying. There are people that are in and that aren't. And as an outsider looking in, I do have to keep saying that I'm outsider, because when you shut me down, you have to understand that I am relatively ignorant when it comes to real domestic American politics. I can only see it from an outsider. And the way I see it, I do believe that there's going to be a wind of change and there's going to be a significant revolution in terms of electoral voting at the two, I'm sorry, at the next election and at the secondaries that are coming, I think, in the fall of next year. But it depends on what these two parties do.
Look, let me see.
It what's changing America?
What's changing America is economic forces. So what is becoming clear? Look, in America, let me tell you something. I spend $50 a week on groceries. Okay, not because I have money, because that's what you have to spend to survive. And now in America, they're having shows which show people how to eat for a week off of $10, which is nothing. That's like trying to eat for a week. I'm not using the same calculation. Like imagine trying to eat for a week in Nigeria with only 1,000 naira.
Yeah, it's like we're going back to the days of the Industrial Revolution. After World War II,
because it's poverty.
Built on the middle class is being destroyed.
Going back to what you said, APAC, Ukraine war, all of this is draining the American economy, along with no tax breaks and inflation. So the country's falling apart. So if this thing isn't addressed, there's going to be a revolution. And actually, more people in America don't vote than vote in the last elections. So it shows that people will just start voting because they don't care about ideology. They care about their kids going to college and being able to eat. So therefore, the Republicans and the Democrats, whether they like it or not, they're going to have to start giving some aid to American people. They're going to have to give aid. They're going to have to do something to bring down the cost of food. Because if they don't, the country is going to totally come apart. It's just a law of nature. Because because with AIPAC, with what we're spending on this, how much money we're spending on this genocide, how much money we're spending on Ukraine, we're actually bleeding the country, and everybody knows it now. So there's going to be a populist movement in America only out of necessity. A lot of Americans are like, I see white people in the Midwest. They're like, I don't vote for Trump. I don't vote for Biden. And we all work together because they don't care about us. We have to look out for ourselves. So what you're going to start seeing is a lot of more communal behavior in America. And if the politicians want to get those votes, if they don't want the democratic system to fall apart and you only have 20% of the population voting, then they're going to have to do something to address the needs of people. What is your thought, Glenn?
Do you know, when I look back on American history and voting, the year that I now realized something was wrong. When George Bush Sr. won, I thought he was going to win. When George Bush Jr. won, I thought he was going to win. When Clinton won, I thought he was going to win. When Clinton's wife lost,
and also Bush's
first time. Yeah, that was the first time that I predicted someone was going to win that didn't win, and I thought, oh, because she's a woman and all of that. And then we've now, ever since then, America has sort of been guesswork as to who, we thought about, and it always felt right. Growing up, I used to have these dog tags that said Israeli Marie, and I used to wear them around. I dated a Jewish girl. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I had no idea. The propaganda was working perfectly in those days. And that scene has been quick. But I don't want to digress. Let's go back to America. So now when I look back at what's going on in America on that level, and the Democrats, they do have to rebuild themselves. I saw Bernie Sanders and Mandani trying to trying to be
Yeah,
pillar of the
I
new ideals of what should be a Democrat Party in respect of the response to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Um, I have no
I
idea
don't
whether
trust those
that's
guys.
all nonsense or whether it's going to become something.
I think it's nonsense. Let me tell you why. Bernie Sanders, when he was marginalized running against Hillary Clinton, he now told all his voters, and I helped him. I helped Bernie Sanders hand out leaflets and stuff. I mean, I never met him, but I worked for people who recruited me. You know, not for money, just go out on the streets and do it. He now told them to just go ahead and vote for Hillary Clinton. You don't do that to someone who marginalized you because it's continually keeping power with the DNC. Bernie Sanders is still in favor of this war against Gaza, even though he's saying they need to tone it down. He's still an APAC agent, as far as I'm concerned. And
Yes, I
and,
believe so.
and Mamdani to me is just a lot of words, just like Bernie Sanders and AOC. AOC also endorses him. The fact that Bernie Sanders and AOC endorse Mamdani means I'm not going to trust him because he's part of their. He's basically he has good intentions, but he's going to get comfortable in that governmental position, and they're going to advise him and say, "Hey, tone it down if you want to." He won't even admit. They asked him does he think people should use the word the Antifada, and he just dodges the question, which means that if he's dodging it, he means he doesn't want to piss off Jewish people, but at the same time he just says I don't use the word Antifada, but he refuses to condemn it. You get my point? The reason he refuses to condemn it is because
that's why he calls himself an independent and
he
he
knows that
condemns
Antifada
Hamas.
is a complex movement, and he knows very well that Hamas is not a terrorist organization, but he doesn't want to say it because he doesn't want to piss off his voters, which means he's not all out. You know what Christ said? I will spit you out of my mouth because you are lukewarm. He's not a hot leftist because there are things that he won't say because he wants to protect his political career. Yeah, last thoughts on that, then we'll get out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's becoming international. It's bigger than just Bernie Sanders and his career because I now look, I see this Palestine Action Group in Europe. I see groups in Germany. I see protests in all parts of these Western G7 countries that are being criminalized by their states, and they're following a similar route that America is doing. The electorate and the people are becoming at an odds with their government.
Oh yeah.
And it seems to be the same culprit over and over and over and over and over again.
Oh yeah,
and
right now it's APAC.
It's not even about Gaza anymore. It's actually fuck Gaza and Palestine.
It's about
this
fascism.
is my country. Do I have control of my country? That's a bigger issue than fucking Palestine. Do I actually control my own country? You know, and I think Trump sort of had an idea of it, but he was forced to tone it down. That's why he said America first. But that seed of America first that was sown, I think he didn't have the ability or the courage or the resources or the
Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking it because she's not going to put heat on him over the Epstein files, and that's the end of his political career. But see, now that Trump is about to, this is his last 4 years. I don't think he can run again. Now that he's out, they can now attack him and use him as a scapegoat. And my prediction is that Epstein thing, they're going to use it to destroy him. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to become the new leader of MAGA, and we'll see what happens there. Because as usual, something will happen to her too. But for now, she's the only politician in America right now who's saying that this thing in Gaza is a genocide. Hakeem Jeffries, Trump, the guy in Gavin, whatever his name in California, none of them is coming out to say that this is a genocide and that we're outraged. She's the only person. So, but it's happening now because Trump's role has been played now. He's already done whatever they wanted him to do, the puppet masters. So he's out. So they can use him as a scapegoat. But whatever they do, American politics needs to turn in and become domestic and not foreign. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's becoming domestic, but it's becoming international. Do you know that if we mentioned Palestine and word action, that we would be tracked by US and British and German authorities? That's why I have to put words in between because the algorithm is going to pick us up and put us in trouble. So if you're going to do it, it's you that will do it. It's not me because it's your show.
Yeah, they come at me. I'm not worried. Let them come and arrest me. I don't care.
So I do believe that there's a lot of issues that are coming out of this matter. It's sort of like when you kill one cockroach and then there's 1,000 under them. And we just didn't know that they were there. Yeah, well, that's how the world is becoming to me. And there's so much coming out that I don't even know when I'm talking and making sense and not.
Yeah, but look at this. If the U.S. turns domestic, the U.S. solves the whole world problem. Let me tell you why. If the U.S. became domestic and they said, we don't care about Palestinians, but you ain't going to send no more money to Israel or to Ukraine. You're going to keep all your money in here. That whole thing would fall
That's a
apart.
start.
No, but it would fall apart within a week because then Israel
Yeah.
would have to get its funding from somewhere else. Maybe they'll get it from Switzerland.
No, they're fucked. That's it. They're not.
Yeah, that was a good one, right? Switzerland. They get it from Switzerland.
That's screwed. That's it. It's over
Yeah.
because the funding is worth. Money is worth nothing because what they actually need is not gold. They need weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The funny thing is when you now look at things, you now realize that gold and diamonds are worthless. If I decided overnight that gold and diamonds is not worth anything, it's not worth anything. But you can never say a Stingray missile is worth nothing. It's still going to do the job.
And that's why it's destroying the world economy because they're using resources to make these missiles. So basically, missiles is actually the monetary system of America. Or the raw materials they use to make weapons, and
organized violence.
And that's why people can't buy food because all of our productive energy is being used to create weapons and used for organized violence. All right, so let's get out of here. So take us out.
Yeah, so we've looked at America and the problems that are facing it both externally and internally. And for the betterment of the world, we do believe that America needs to address its internal issues in order to save us from ourselves. And from myself and Mustafa, we bid you farewell, adieu. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.
Yeah, I'll see you later for that stupid game. I'm not even hyped up about it.
I almost deviated. I'm trying not to deviate. I